eat it! Don't eat the food! She put something inside. My own sister took my husband, my child, my life. I trusted her.
This is the kind of story people whisper about in hushed tones. Precious and Jane were the kind of sisters people whispered about. So close, always together, almost like twins. They were inseparable from childhood through university. Always side by side, sharing secrets, dreams, and laughter. Everyone admired their bond, saying they were lucky to have each other. Then came John, the charming, wealthy young man who swept Precious off her feet. Their love was the kind people envied, the kind that made others sigh and say, God, when? When Precious met John, she poured her heart out to Jane, sharing every detail like an open book. Jane, he's perfect, Precious gushed one evening sitting on her bed. He sent me the sweetest message today. Look. She pushed her phone into Jane's hands, eyes sparkling. Jane read the message slowly, smiling just enough. Wow, Precious, he really adores you. Precious sighed dreamily. I feel like I won the lottery. He says he can't imagine life without me. Jane forced a laugh. That's amazing. I'm happy for you. And she pretended to be. Precious told Jane everything. His favorite food, his little habits, his future plans. He wants 3 kids. Can you imagine? She once said grinning, a boy, a girl, and a surprise. Jane laughed on cue, but inside something twisted. When John proposed, Precious ran straight to Jane. Look at this ring. She held out her hand, practically vibrating with joy. Jane smiled. It's beautiful. She didn't mean it. After the wedding, Precious continued sharing every moment. Romantic dinners, surprise gifts, even silly quarrel. She trusted Jane with everything, but she did realize that Jane wasn't happy. Jane had always loved the finer things. Designer bags, flashy cars, the latest trends. She wasn't just materialistic. She needed to be admired, to be the one everyone envied. So, when she heard whispers about John, the wealthy, handsome bachelor who had just entered town, she was interested. Her friends had told her, Jane, this guy is the real one. Rich, single, and looking. You better step up your game. And Jane was ready. She watched, waited, planned. She imagined herself beside him, living the life she deserved. He would fall for her. Of course he would. She always got what she wanted. But then, Precious happened. Precious wasn't flashy. She wasn't chasing wealth or status. Unlike Jane, she never needed anyone's admiration. So when she met John, she wasn't planning. She was simply herself, and as if it were fate, John fell so in love with her. It was instant. It was effortless. Jane never said a word, never let her bitterness show. She smiled, pretended to be happy, acted like the devoted sister, but inside, oh, inside was a storm. Precious had stolen her life, her dreams, her perfect future. And Jane was not the kind of woman to forget something like that. Jane tried to hide her jealousy, but her best friend Tasha saw right through it. Tasha was like Jane. She loved money, power, and the thrill of getting what she wanted. And she knew Jane wanted John. Girl, you're just gonna let Precious take him? Tasha asked one evening. You liked him first, right? Jane sighed, forcing a smile. She saw him first, but yeah, I was interested. Tasha leaned in, lowering her voice. Listen, men are easy. There's a way to make John forget all about Precious. I know someone who can help. Jane hesitated. It sounded risky, but the thought of watching Precious live the life that was meant for her was worse. She couldn't allow it. She wouldn't allow it. All right, Jane whispered, I'm in. Tasha smirked. Good. Tomorrow we make a move. And just like that, Jane stepped into it, not realizing that once she started, there would be no turning back. Jane's heart raced as she followed Tasha down the narrow, bushy path. She hadn't expected this. A shrine? The air felt heavy, and the faint smell of incense mixed with something darker. She hesitated at the entrance, her feet refusing to move. Tasha, I don't think, Jane started, her voice shaky. Do you want Precious to keep living your life? Tasha snapped, her eyes sharp. Think about John. Think about what's at stake. That was all it took. Jane swallowed her fear and stepped inside. The Baba sat cross-legged, his eyes piercing as if he could see right through her. What do you want? He said, his voice low and commanding. Jane's hand shakes, but she forced herself to speak. I want John to love me. I want him to leave my sister. The Baba nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. It can be done, but there is a price. Your sister, she will lose her mind. Jane froze. Her heart pounded in her chest. She thought about Precious, her laughter, her happiness, her perfect life. And then she thought about John, about the life that should have been hers. I agree, she whispered, barely recognizing her own voice. The Baba began chanting. His words strange. He handed Jane a small bottle filled with a dark liquid. Put this in their food. Watch what happens. Jane clutched the bottle tightly, her mind spinning. She had crossed a line, and there was no going back now. Jane's hands trembled as she stirred the portion into the food she had carefully prepared. Her heart pounded, but she kept reminding herself why she was doing this. Precious had taken everything, her dreams, her man. It was time to take it all back. She arrived at Precious' house, her smile sweet, her voice calm. I thought I'd bring you both something special, she said, setting the dishes on the table. Precious, always trusting, beamed. John, ever polite, nodded his thanks. As they ate, Jane sat quietly, watching, waiting. Her pulse quickened when Precious suddenly froze, her spoon clattering to the floor. I don't feel right, Precious murmured, clutching her head. Her eyes darted around the room, wild and unfocused. Before anyone could react, Precious let out a scream and bolted out the door, her bare feet pounding against the pavement. Jane's breath caught in her throat, but she didn't move. She didn't need to. John didn't even glance at Precious. Instead, he turned to Jane, his eyes soft, his voice tender. Jane, he said, reaching for her hand. I don't know why I didn't see it before. You're the one I've always loved. Jane's lips curled into a smile, but inside, her thoughts swayed. She had won. Precious was now a shadow of her former self, wandering the streets, talking to no one, lost in a world only she could see. In the market, people whispered as she passed. Is that not Precious? Ah, such a sad story. I heard she went mad overnight. Her parents tried everything to keep her at home, to bring her back, but she always escaped. Precious, please, her mother begged, holding her arms tightly. Stay, we can help you. Precious only laughed, a hollow sound, before pulling away and running into the night. Jane barely cared. She was too busy enjoying what used to be Precious' life, wrapped around John like a trophy wife. When her parents tried to talk sense into her, she waved them off. Jane, you need to leave John, her father warned. She scoffed, swallowing her wine glass. Why? He is my husband now. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. This isn't right. You know what you did. Jane's smile faltered, but she lifted her chin. Precious is gone. I'm the one John loves now. That's all that matters. Jane's perfect life was almost complete. She had John, she had wealth, and she had Precious' daughter, a little girl too young to question anything. But there was one problem. The Baba had warned her. If Precious ever sees her child again, the spell will break. She will remember everything. Jane felt a chill. She couldn't let that happen. One evening, as she packed boxes, her mother stormed into the house. Jane, you're taking the child? Jane barely looked up. She's better off with me. Her mother's voice shook. Precious is still her mother. Jane's jaw tightened. Precious is mad. She doesn't even know who she is. Her father stepped forward, anger in his eyes. You can't just erase her. I already have, Jane said. The next morning, before the sun fully rose, Jane and John disappeared from town, moving to another state where they wouldn't see Precious. Meanwhile, Precious wandered the streets, searching for something she couldn't name, thinking by a path she couldn't quite grasp. Jane had everything: John, a beautiful home, wealth. But deep down, she was restless. She couldn't have her own child. And instead of accepting it, she blamed Precious' daughter Mina. One morning, Jane marched into Mina's small room, holding a pile of old torn clothes. "Bring out all those fancy clothes," she ordered. Mina looked up, confused. "But Aunt Jane, Mama bought me this." Jane's expression hardened. "Your mother is mad, wandering the streets. Do you want to look like her? Fine, wear this." She threw the rags onto the bed. Mina hesitated but knew better than to argue. With trembling hands, she changed into the worn-out clothes, fighting back tears. Jane didn't stop there. She made Mina scrub the floors, wash the dishes, and do all the housework. Her hands were rough, her body tired, but Jane never cared. Jane's eyes narrowed. "You should be grateful I let you stay in this house." Neighbors began to notice. "That poor Mina," they whispered. "She doesn't even go to school anymore." But Jane ignored them, living her life without guilt. And John, he sat silently as if under a spell himself. But fate has a way of bringing justice, and Jane's time was running out. One afternoon, Jane sent Mina to the supermarket to buy a few things. She didn't care that she had never gone out alone before. "Don't come back without everything on this list," Jane snapped, shoving a crumpled paper into Mina's hand. Mina nodded and hurried off, clutching the list tightly. But somewhere along the way, she took a wrong turn. The streets blurred together, unfamiliar and confusing. "Where am I?" she whispered, glancing around, feeling something strange, almost as if something was guiding her feet. Before she knew it, she was standing in the market, and that's when she saw her. A woman, barefoot, dressed in tattered clothes, her once beautiful face now shadowed with exhaustion and lost time. Her hair was messy, her movements restless, but there was something striking about her, a fading elegance, a trace of something familiar. Mina's heart raced as she stared. The woman looked back at her, tilting her head, confusion flickering in her wide eyes. Then something happened. Precious blinked, her body stiffening, her breath hitching. It was as if something deep inside her shook away. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Her fingers trembled, her eyes wide as she looked at Mina. Mina gasped softly, staring at the woman, recognizing the features, the shape of the eyes, the curve of the lips from old pictures. "Mama," Mina whispered. But Precious didn't know her, not yet. The market was buzzing with whispers. "Is that not the mad woman? She looks different. She's back." People gathered, watching in awe as Precious, once lost, now stood with clear eyes, her posture no longer bent by madness. A kind woman led her away, showing her where to bath, offering her clean clothes. Others brought food, speaking gently, as if afraid any sudden movement might break the spell. And then Mina took her hand. Precious looked down at the child, something deep stirring inside her. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice soft but uncertain. Mina's eyes filled with hope. "Mama, you're my mama." Something flickered in Precious' gaze, but the memories wouldn't fully come. And so, hand in hand, they walked towards Jane's house, joined by a few good Samaritans who had seen it all unfold. Meanwhile, inside the house, Jane was pacing, her voice sharp. "That girl is useless. John, she doesn't listen. She doesn't do anything right," she said. John sat quietly, staring at his untouched drink, lost in thought. "John," Jane hoofed, "say something." A knock interrupted her, hard and deliberate. Jane frowned. Who could that be? She walked over and opened the door, only to freeze. Fate had finally stepped in, and the past was demanding to be remembered. Jane and John stood frozen at the doorway, staring at Precious and Mina. John blinked in shock, his heart pounding. Precious looked healthy, clear-eyed, alive, and Mina, his daughter, was holding her mother's hand tightly. Jane's body stiffened. She remembered the Baba's words. If Precious sees her child, the spell will break, and you will lose your mind. Her knees buckled, and she fell to the floor, gasping for breath. It was me, she cried out suddenly, her voice trembling. I did it. I went to Baba. I made Precious run mad. Her confession tumbled out uncontrollably, her hands clutching her head as if trying to stop the truth from spilling. I charmed her food. I wanted John. I did everything. John's eyes widened as the fog in his mind lifted. Memories came back. Precious love, her kindness, the life they had before everything changed. He turned to her, his voice breaking. Precious, what have I done? Tears ran down his face as he put her into his arms. I don't know how this happened. I was blind. I lost you, and I lost myself. Precious stiffened in his embrace, her mind struggling to remember everything, but she felt the pain in his voice, the regret in his touch. Then a piercing scream rang out. Jane clutched her head, shaking hard. No, no, this can't be happening. The Baba's word echoed in her mind. The spell will break, and you will lose your mind. Her eyes darted around in panic. Then suddenly, she turned and ran, straight into the street, her movements wide, her mind unfocused. The same madness she once wished on Precious had now found her. Fate had a way of setting things right. Years passed, but Jane never came back. She roamed the streets, lost in her own mind, just like Precious once had. The whispers never stopped. That's Jane. She used to be so proud. She got what she wished for, but at what cost? Some things are better left alone. Precious, on the other hand, had rebuilt her life. She and John found their way back to each other, their love stronger than before. Mina grew up happy, surrounded by warmth and love, the way it was always meant to be. Their parents watched from afar, bittersweet emotions in their eyes. Jane was our daughter too, their mother sighed one evening. Their father shook his head. She made her choice. There is nothing we can do. Fate had spoken. What was stolen had been restored, and what was broken could never be fixed. And so, life continued. One family healed, while another remained lost forever. And with that, the story ends.